A woman is brutally stabbed on a local area transit system, minding her own business by an ex-con who shouldn't have been out. The guy's rap sheet was as long as my arm. Hey, governors, when are you going to step up and start taking care of this horrific crime in your cities? Donald Trump just got 2 huge big wins by the Supreme Court, and we're going to talk about it. I'm going to tell you what it means for immigration, and can he really fire the governor from the Federal Reserve? And a little bad news for Donald Trump. Looks like he's going to have to pony up about $83 million, and the infamous birthday card has just been released by the Democrats on the House Oversight Committee. What does that mean for Donald Trump? I don't know. We're going to talk about it. Stick around. You just might learn something. Irina Zarutska, a Ukrainian refugee that escaped the horrors of war in her own country, came to the United States for some freedom and some relaxation and a little bit better of a life, gets brutally stabbed in the neck, minding her own business by a guy who I'm not going to mention his name, an ex-con that had a rap sheet as long as my arm, got up behind her, stabbed her, walked away while she bled out on the train. Hey, governors, mayors, when are we going to stop this crime? And you don't even hear about the crime with the legacy media. You know why? Because look what she looks like. She's a beautiful blonde woman. And look at the guy. Now, if this was a black woman and a white guy had killed her, it would be all over news every day on every news source, Post, the Journal, the Washington Post, the New York Times, LA Times, everywhere would have this news article on there. It'd be all over social media. People would be talking about it, commenting on it. But you don't hear jack squat about it because she's a beautiful blonde lady. Nobody cares. Why do they only care when it fits the narrative? They don't care when it's a Ukrainian refugee in this country escaping the horrors of war, minding her own business, and getting killed for nothing but sitting, looking at her cell phone. There's got to be answers to this. Why doesn't the media want to talk about it? You know why? Because it doesn't fit the old crime narrative that they like. They only like to put out in the press what actually gets them to sell newspapers. There's not enough outrage when it's a blonde white woman getting killed, not as much as a black person getting killed. I think that's wrong. Our society is wrong. And that's why nobody trusts the legacy media. Nobody trusts these newspapers anymore. They're garbage. The only reason why we even know about this is because social media platforms like X will actually put that information out. You can probably find it on Facebook because they're a little more lenient now with their censorship. But X puts everything out there. That's where everybody's getting their news. X platform is the most trusted news source right now in the world because they let these things out there. If we didn't know it was on X, nobody would know about this young lady getting killed. This happened over a week ago. August 22nd, this murder happened. And we're just now hearing it the other day. September 5th, it just came out. And now we know all about it. So when are we going to allow Donald Trump and the federal law enforcement officers to get into these cities and start straightening up this crime? This guy, how many mugshots does he have? 12, 14 mugshots? This guy should have been behind bars. He shouldn't have been on a area transit system. Obviously, he's mentally ill because no normal person does that kind of act. And like I said before, we have a mental illness problem in this country, and we need to start reining it in because acts of violence like this are going to continue to happen. And it's sad. This woman escaped atrocities of war, came to the United States for a better life. She probably would have been better off just staying in Ukraine, facing the Russians, than coming to the United States and getting killed by a guy that had no business bothering her. But he did it anyway. Why? What are the answers for that? And it just ticks me off that the media doesn't put it out there. It doesn't matter what color he is. It matters that this crime happened in America on a transit car that people use to go from point A to point B because they don't have a vehicle. They're utilizing public transportation. You should feel safe when you're on public transportation. You shouldn't feel like your life is in danger or you got to look over your shoulders. I tell everybody, man, always sit with your back against the wall. You sit on a train, you sit with your back against the wall. You should never sit in the open like that. And that sucks that you have to actually do those types of exercises when you go onto these public transportation vehicles, because if you don't, you can get hurt just like this girl did. She got killed. So I tell everybody, when you're on a train, make sure your back is against the wall. Make sure you sit in a corner. And don't be looking at your phone. Keep yourself vigilant, your head on a swivel. Even if you're a town like Charlotte, there's still crime out there. And if you're another city that has a little bit more violent crime, you better really be paying attention. So stop getting on your phone, people. Stop looking on your phone. Pay attention to your surroundings so you don't end up being a victim like this poor lady. Now, would she have had a chance otherwise? Probably not. Probably not even had a chance in hell to survive an attack like that. But there's things that you can do for your safety. And I implore everybody out there, if you listen to this or you come across this clip, make sure you're on a train, you're on a bus, you sit with your back against the wall, sit in a corner. Make sure you're always watching and be hyper vigilant. It's sad that you have to be that way now in society. You have to be hyper vigilant in America because these mayors don't give a damn about crime. You know, they increase their budgets all of a sudden, but yet they don't hire any more law enforcement officers. And it sucks that you have to have checkpoints going into a concert. You have to have metal detectors going into concerts, going into schools and high school. You have to have all this now because they got soft on crime. And when you get soft on crime, you have to fix it. And you do a quick fix, and they do metal detectors. They've got cameras. And sometimes, like this poor young lady, it just isn't enough. So I pray for her family. And remember, stay hyper vigilant out there. And Trump is designating the Department of Education to give guidance to allow and protecting the right of prayer in public schools. In order to combat the anti-religious propaganda infiltrated in our schools, our country was founded on religious principles. And I believe that's a big reason why we're in the shape that we're in. That's why we're seeing crime like that in the subway. We're seeing crimes like that on city buses. We're seeing crime like that on area transit systems. Area transit systems aren't even close to being a subway. So that's going to go all the way. We're going to go. So when people talk about prayer in school, I want to give you a little explanation how it started. Now, up until about 1963, we used to have prayer in school. Now, the Supreme Court got involved in it, the whole freedom of speech, freedom of religion thing, separation of church and state and all that. So I want to go over it and kind of explain to you what the whole timeline of how that all started. Engel versus Vitale in 1962, the court ruled the official state-sponsored prayer in schools was unconstitutional under the First Amendment's established clause. This case ended the practice of teachers or administrators leading students in prayer, even if it was for non-denominational purposes. And then Abington School District versus Shemp in 1963. The court struck down school-sponsored Bible readings and recitations of the Lord's Prayer in public schools. The ruling said such practices were religious exercises and violated the established cause. This case is usually identified as a point when mandatory Bible readings ended in public schools. So the court did not ban students from bringing or reading the Bibles of their own into schools. It prohibited schools from organizing, leading, and requiring religious exercises like Bible reading or prayer. Students are still allowed to read the Bible, pray individually or in groups, or form religious clubs in public schools, as long as it's student-initiated and voluntary, not sponsored by the school. So we used to have that in schools, and I think over the last 60 years, that has been diminished. Now, I'm not saying we have to do, Bible school like you do on Sunday school at public schools. But I think a little bit of religion, a little bit of God in the classroom to be able to talk about and let these children be freely and speak open with it and stop the propaganda from the left trying to get God out of people's hearts and the classroom. I think that's wrong. And I think it needs to be brought back. Our country is just getting torn to shambles since we stopped worrying about religion. Religion right now is not as important as it used to be 20, 30 years ago. It's well divided in the country. Now, it's started to make a little bit of a comeback. More people are starting to go to church again. More people are trying to find God. Now, look, there are people that find God. Now, I'm not a uberly religious guy. I'm not like a Charlie Kirk Bible thumping guy. I believe in God. I believe in prayer. I believe there's a higher power. But I'm not a Bible verse repeating guy. I couldn't tell you Bible verses. I was a Sunday school guy. I was a altar boy for 2 or 3 years with my brother. I made my confirmation as a Catholic, but I am not a Bible thumping kind of guy. I just believe what I believe in. I don't push my narrative on anybody else, and that's just how I believe. But I believe other people feel a little more strongly about religion, and they should be able to embrace that. And I believe if they feel that way in a public school, they should be able to embrace that as long as it's under a setting where it's not dictated by the actual schools. But the schools are allowing it more, and they should allow it more. So people aren't so intimidated, because the left and some of these anti-religious groups have really done a good job taking prayer completely out of public schools. And I think that's wrong. I think religious has a purpose in people's lives. And I think you can make your own decision when you get older, whether you want to be religious or not. But at some point, to understand about God, understand about life. And it's good. It's about being good to your fellow man. Do unto others, right? I don't think anything's wrong with it. And I think Trump is doing what he can to try to right the ship because it's been steered off in such a bad way for the past 40 and 50 years. And if we don't start fixing these things now, and I mean little things, these are like baby steps. If we don't start fixing the baby steps in our society, it's going to become a larger step, and then a hill, and then a mountain. And then by that time, there's almost no turning back. So I agree with it 100%. And I think it's a good thing. Bring a little prayer back to school. Say a couple Our Fathers before and after that old football game. Pretty cool. I dig it. The experts were wrong. The tariffs are in fact working. Right now, there's an aluminum plant in South Carolina. And because of President Trump's tariffs on aluminum at 50%, this plant is now almost at 100% capacity on manufacturing and producing aluminum. They have high-paying wages. They are hiring more staff, more individuals. Some of these salaries start at 6 figures. Just check it out.
Boost. Senior correspondent Steve Harrigan joins us live from an aluminum plant in South Carolina. Steve, what can you tell us?
Jillian, President Trump put a tariff into effect in June of 50% on imported aluminum, and that has changed things around here in a hurry. At this smelter just outside of Charleston, you can see they are moving giant vats of molten aluminum. They're going to pour them into mold and then remove the impurities. Now, this smelter was working at just a fraction of its capacity a few weeks ago. Now it's almost at 100%. New jobs also, jobs that often pay 6 figures. And when you walk around the factory floor and talk to the employees, you find a lot of former military men who are proud to be working now in this industry, like Chris Murphy, who served 2 terms in Iraq.
To do this job out here, you have to be physically and mentally tough. And the military obviously, helped with that. So I'm grateful for that.
Now, critics of the tariffs say it's going to cause inflation on a variety of goods, but supporters say it was absolutely necessary to the domestic aluminum industry. If you can't produce aluminum in your own country, it can be, executives say, a national security issue.
We know that Americans can compete, and we know that American aluminum production will be successful. As the president said, we don't need their aluminum. We need our own aluminum. We're going to produce it here at home.
So everybody complaining, saying that manufacturing is not coming back, this is within 8 months of President Trump taking over, doing the tariffs against aluminum, and watch this plant in America hiring more people, getting better wages, and actually manufacturing aluminum right here in the United States. That's a win. So all those naysayers about tariffs, you're going to be wrong. You're going to be wrong. And Trump wins with the Supreme Court with 2 big rulings. The lower courts are basically doing the bidding of the Democrat Party. They are. These lower court federal district judges are doing the bidding. And what happened? The Supreme Court ruled, 2 months ago, that the lower courts can't dictate executive power. They cannot do that. So, but they're still doing it. The left cannot get out of their own way. They are constantly fighting Donald Trump on every turn. If they would just get in his office, sit down and try to get along with the guy, they'd probably get a lot accomplished. But they keep suing him, and keep suing him. And look what happens. The Supreme Court, the law of the land, the Supreme Court, they've overruled it. The newest one is the immigration enforcement in Los Angeles. The Supreme Court lifted restrictions imposed by a lower court judge in California, allowing U.S. immigration and customs enforcement agents to resume roving arrests and raids in the Los Angeles area. The ruling overturned a temporary restraining order that had barred ICE from using factors such as race, ethnic background, language, or employment areas. Justice Brett Kavanaugh supported the decision, stating these factors can provide reasonable suspicion of illegal presence. Though the ruling was split along ideological lines, Justice Sotomayor and Kagan and Jackson all dissented. Obviously, so it was 6-3 ruling, right? Okay, and then the firing of the federal trade commissioner. Get it? The old Fed chair, the governor that Donald Trump wanted to fire because she had allegations of mortgage fraud. The woman had a Maine residence where she got her loan from for her mortgage. And then she had another house as her main residence. Now, I don't know if you know about buying a mortgages, but you get different loans and different rates when it's your primary residence. If you have a rental property and you aren't living in it, your interest rate on those types of loans are significantly different than it is when it's your own personal domicile. And she lied. And Trump fired her for that. When you're one of the governors in the Fed chair to make those decisions about finance, you should be above reproach. And this woman knew. She knew damn well she was lying on her applications. She was trying to get a better interest rate. A lot of people do that. Like, you could do that. I could probably get away with that, but not when you're running the government Fed system like that. You should be above reproach, and you should be fired for doing those kinds of things. And so now she is. So the firing of them, the court, through Justice John Roberts, ruled that president can fire federal trade commissioners Rebecca Slaughter, one of the two Democrat commissioners dismissed in March. This allowed a legal challenge after Slaughter and another commissioner, Alvaro Bedoya, were fired. Bedoya later dropped his case. These rulings are seen as victories for the Trump administration. That's right, guys. Trump is winning. The lower courts do not have the power to legislate from the bench. And that's what they're trying to do because the Democrats have no answers. So all they do is go crying like little wimps to these judges to get something overturned. And then guess what happens? Go to the Supreme Court and Trump wins. He's winning again, except for this time. Unfortunately, Trump is not going to win this one. Donald Trump with the E. Jean Carroll, the old case against that, woman. Whatever you want to say about that woman, I don't know. I've seen a couple of things on E. Jean Carroll. She seems like a little, not really have everything upstairs. A little strange. There's a video of her just coming out yesterday, how she was some provocative statements about sexual stuff. Just a strange breed that woman is. So a federal appeals court upheld the 88.3 defamation verdict against Donald Trump in the case brought by E. Jean Carroll, rejected his appeal. The second U.S. Court of Appeals affirmed that the jury's damages award was fair and reasonable, dismissing Trump's argument of presidential immunity. Now remember, this is a defamation case. Now all of you people want to say he, did illegal sexual things to her. It's not what it's about. And those people on the left, they're blinded. They think it has everything to do with that. No, it's not. It's defamation because he was kind of like poking fun at her during this whole thing, and she sued him for that, and that's why she got that settlement. Has nothing to do with any sexual innuendos or anything else that he allegedly had done. He says he never met the woman, and believe it or not, after seeing where this woman lives, I tend to believe him. She's a little out there. If you've ever watched an interview with her, she made Anderson Cooper cut because she was talking about how sexy RAP stuff is. She was talking about how sexy it was, how women fantasize about it. And Anderson Cooper's he was like, a cut. So yeah, she's a little strange breed. So Donald Trump didn't win this one. And finally, the House Democrats have released the horrific birthday card that Donald Trump wrote to Jeffrey Epstein. And he put a pair of boobs on it, signed his name, and said, "Our little secrets," whatever that means. Now, here's the deal, guys. I'm not big on this. I think the Democrats are doing everything they can to try to discredit Trump. Now, here's the problem with the Democrats, and they're not figuring it out. And I'm just a nobody podcaster, but I'm smart enough to realize the Democrats are losing this battle. They are continually running against Donald Trump. He's not running in 2028, but they're running against Donald Trump every single day. If this card was actually real, this card would have came out during the election. And look, it's just a birthday card. Even if he did write it, which I don't think he did, one of his executive assistants, somebody probably wrote that card or signed his name on it because his signature isn't so hard to fucking duplicate. Let's be really clear. The signature is not that hard to duplicate. It's up and down, straight up and down, and it just put Donald on it. I don't think it's real. I personally don't think it's real. I think it's stuff that's fabricated. I could be wrong. He could have done it. He's an old man. This was probably 30 years ago. Does he remember doing it if he did it? Probably not. He probably signed a lot of birthday cards in his lifetime. But he's suing him. $10 billion, the Wall Street Journal. Now, the card exists. What does that mean for the lawsuit? I don't know. I'm not a legal scholar, but it makes it interesting. So Donald Trump, they just can't stop. I wish he would just release the files. Donald Trump just released the freaking files, man. I don't care, and America doesn't care whose name is on it. Nobody cares. If it's one of your pals, his name's on it, release it. Let him know, hey, John, I'm releasing this. Get a lawyer. Hey, Steve, I'm releasing the files of Epstein. Get a lawyer because the shit's about to hit the fan. Just release it. Take the file, open it up in the Oval Office, take it and go, here you go. Here's the entire Epstein file. Here's all the victims' names. Here are all the people that allegedly assaulted these victims, and just get it out there. This is the albatross around Donald Trump's neck. I don't think he realizes it. Is he too dumb to realize this is his albatross? Donald Trump, figure it out, dude. America wants to see. This is going to keep happening and getting brought up in the news unless you just let the freaking files go. What's the problem? Everybody wants them released. And every time something like this comes out, guys like me that try to defend your policies and think that you're doing because we love that what you're doing, it makes it that much more difficult for us to defend all this BS. For fuck's sake, release the damn files. Get rid of them. Who cares his name is on that? Mike Johnson, Speaker Mike Johnson, release the damn files. This is a joke at this point. It's a joke. This card, if it was in fact in the files, should have been released months ago. Get ahead of the shit. Dude, there's so many podcasts and so many guys on the right that are sticking up for Trump, trying to get the policy things going and trying to appreciate what he's doing to move our country with respect and our policies and our government and pay going increasing, getting more jobs in the U.S., getting more manufacturing in the U.S., getting better wages for the U.S. That this completely takes everything away with part of the country. My dad used to have a saying, it takes one aw shit to take away 10 attaboys. And this is Donald Trump's aw shit moment. The 20 things that are good that you are doing are getting swept down and looked at like nothing because of the aw shit of the Epstein case. America wants the files out there. Just release them. It's better for everybody. Who gives a damn if it's a mega donor? Who gives a damn if it's some Wall Street tycoon? Who gives a damn if it's some famous actor? Who gives a damn if it's some Saudi prince or whoever's on the list? Who gives a damn if it's a king of England? Nobody cares. We just need the stuff released so we can move the hell on with the whole situation. And these girls that have been victims of this can finally get their day in court and get these people to justice. Now, it's going to be a hard road for them to all prove any of these allegations when they come out. It's going to be hard unless they've got them dead to rights on video. It's going to be hard. Allegations are hard to prove unless you got hard evidence. Now, if there's like 20 women that all say the exact same thing, that's probably a different story. I'm no attorney, but I'm telling you, it's probably a little easier. But just making an allegation, somebody did something to you, that's going to be hard to prove. Now, if they're afraid because these guys are billionaires, they're very powerful people, who cares? Do you want justice or not? Girls, ladies, do you want justice or not? If you want justice, start singing like a canary. Sing a tune, and let's put this whole Epstein thing behind us. President Trump, release the files. It would make everybody in the country feel a lot better if you just freaking did it. We want it done, and we'd appreciate it. The quicker you get it done, the better. Anyway, that's it for today. Join me next time for a little chit-chat, some observations, and some good old-fashioned conversation. Thanks.